is up, hotties? Welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot. I'm Blaiden Kirk, joined as always by my two favorite co-hosts of all time, Matthew Sponhauer and Theo Ash, and it's finally time for real NFL football. This is our Week 1 preview episode. We made it, fellas. We're finally here. We're going to give you some of the top things that we're looking for, and then we will do the Stay Hot locks. The locks are back, baby. Matt won last year, which means all of us have at least one Stay Hot Locks championship. Who will take a 2-1-1 lead this year? It's hard to say, but it's a fresh season. But before we get into everything, Matt, Theo, how are you guys doing on this beautiful Wednesday evening?
I mean, I've been jumping up and down on my bed basically all day.
Real.
It's like, Santa Claus, waiting for him the next night. So I'm trying to wear myself out as much as possible so I can get to bed, get up. And then I guess it's Thursday night football, so I'll be waiting anyway. But you know how it is.
You might as well just stay up all night, then take a nap Thursday.
And then I'll miss the game and I'll wake up and I'll go, oh, that'd be that type of deal.
Real.
Yeah, I'm being pretty nonchalant about it. I might watch Chiefs Ravens. I might not. Depends on what else is on my schedule. No, it's very exciting, but I disagree that we're so close. I feel like these next 24 hours are the longest. Like, what am I supposed to do with myself tomorrow before the game?
I'm doing a fantasy draft. That's what I did. I went on Sleeper and I'm like, let me just find a little paid league so I have something to do football-wise. I realized I don't know if I have a normal 12-team good old draft that I've done yet because everybody I know, the league that I play with them is the 32-team league, which is fun. But, I got to let me get a real one real quick. So that's what I'm doing to fill the time. And I'm twiddling my thumbs, of course, outside of that. But the draft holds me over a little bit.
Yeah. What have you got going on, Blaiden?
I just been working, man. So nothing really changes for me. I will have band practice before the game comes on, so that'll keep me preoccupied for at least 2 hours. But I'm just waiting to watch Jalen Hurts, Marvin Harrison Jr., Rome Odunze, Anthony Richardson, Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
Oh yeah,
it's gonna be a fun time.
He'll do a great job calling that coin toss.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he will. Right? He's gonna call heads. It's gonna be heads.
It's little things.
He's gonna defer to the second half, and he'll make sure to defend the right side so that when it's fourth quarter, we don't have the sun in our eyes on offense. He's gonna have everything planned out.
He's been game planning.
He has been. He's an expert. But let's talk about Week 1, though, shall we? I'm curious, Matt. You're seeing Bryce Young again for the first time since last year. Well, I guess not for the first time, but the first time in the regular season. Is that one of your big storylines to look for? Is Bryce Young or no?
That's not something that I had down, no, as my top 5.
I'm disappointed in you.
I was trying to lean away from quarterbacks as much as I could because we could just say, here's this young quarterback, here's this other young quarterback, here's this. Right. Actually, I'll say this even. I kind of think for some of the young quarterbacks, they aren't that interesting because people will just give them a pass if they're bad. You know what I mean? Like if Jaden Daniels, just using him as an example, is bad, it's okay. So it's I don't know. It's anything can happen and we're okay with it. We're not going to be that negative with any result. It's I don't know. The first one that I had down in terms of the number one matchup I want to see, Packers wide receivers versus Eagles corners.
Ooh.
Both of those units are pretty deep. Now maybe I like the Packers wide receivers more than I like the Eagles corners. But in Philadelphia, you've got a lot of different guys there with DeJean, you've got Mitchell, you've got Slay, you've got Bradbury, who are all at sort of different points and have different strengths and weaknesses. And then in Green Bay, you feel really good about the receiver unit, but they've got, Wicks and Dobbs and Watson's coming back and whoever else you want to throw in there, and then the tight ends as well. So to see how the Eagles match up against a bunch of different guys when we have questions about their cornerback room, and to see how the Packers use and prioritize their receivers, I think is something I'm really excited to watch.
What is up, hotties? You know that when it comes to NFL football, Stay Hot has you covered. But who do you turn to when you need to make smart financial decisions? If your answer is our sponsor, NerdWallet, then you're absolutely right. And if it's not, then allow me to change your mind, because not only have they spent thousands of hours researching and reviewing over 1,300 financial products, but they have the tools you need to make smarter financial decisions. Looking for a credit card? Go beyond the basic comparisons. Filter for features that matter to you and read in-depth reviews. Ready to choose a high-yield savings account? Get access to exclusive deals and compare rates, bonuses, and more. House hunting? View today's top mortgage rates for your new home sweet home. So while Stay Hot is your go-to resource for NFL football, make the Nerds your go-to resource for smart financial decisions. Head to nerdwallet.com/learn more. NerdWallet. Finance smarter. Disclaimer: NerdWallet Compare Inc. NMLS 1617539. You've had Wendy's nugs dipped in sauce, but have you had them covered in sauce? Wendy's new saucy nugs take the crispy and spicy nugs you love and turn them up to 11. Choose between flavors like buffalo, honey barbecue, garlic parm, or if you're really a heat seeker, try spicy ghost pepper. Only on Wendy's signature spicy nugs. I dare ya. That's 7 delicious ways to try the nugs you already love. Pick a flavor, grab some extra napkins, and prepare to nug like you've never nugged before. For a whole new way to nug, it's gotta be Wendy's at participating U.S. Wendy's locations.
Of course, I'm excited about everything regarding this game. That is definitely one of them. How the Packers wide receivers stack up is something I'm going to be fascinated to watch.
Exactly.
Who do you have in 11 personnel? Who are your guys? Who are your guys in 12 personnel? How do you maximize the offensive talent when you have got 4 wide receivers who all have about an equal case to start? Not to mention Luke Musgrave and Tucker Kraft as well, and how they fit into everything, and Josh Jacobs as well. I am certainly excited to see how the Eagles defense is able to stabilize after falling off a cliff last year. This is going to be a really good early test because there's all kinds of weapons to defend. Every single matchup across the board will get tested for the Eagles, like you're saying, Matt. I'm also excited to see what LaFleur does to these linebackers as a Packers fan. You're muted, Matt.
My fault. I think exactly, maybe even a bigger question than the cornerbacks is how that linebacker room is going to shake out. Devin White, I could be wrong, is out. No?
Oh, that's a good question.
I believe that I read somewhere that he is.
Yeah, he is with an ankle injury.
Wow.
That means it's probably going to be Dean, no?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so just to see how this Eagles back end of their defense plays out, I'm super, super interested in. I think they have a lot of answers at cornerback. They've got a lot of guys there, and I think they'll be able to figure it out. The linebacker room, I question. The linebacker room, I think they probably won't. So that's why I had the Eagles corners sort of like who rises to the top and who gets played when. I feel like that's kind of like the Packers, and they're getting shown off week 1. But I agree the Eagles defense as a whole is going to be really exciting to see, and honestly the Packers offense too.
Yeah, keeping with this game, I actually went with a different side of the ball. I'm more excited to see the Packers defense and the offense. I feel like I kind of know what to expect. Like, obviously, who emerges as the dominant wide receiver, if there is one, who emerges as the best guy, because someone's got it, is a question that I have. But we've got a whole new defensive coordinator running a scheme that Packers fans have been asking for years. You're going to see that 4-down, cover 1 base defense all the time, and it's against a really good test. We always talk about how the Packers have the talent to play this way. Like, yes, you can pin your ears back. You have the secondary to survive playing man coverage. Well, we're going to find out pretty quickly if they do or don't, because A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are the best two at beating man coverage in the entire league. But at the same time, this was a team that really struggled against the blitz last year. The Buccaneers obviously destroyed them in that playoff game. Wink Martindale even had hit a day against the Eagles offense last year. Hafley is going to be able to test that early. 6-man pressures are kind of his specialty, or they were last year in Boston College. He designed some absolutely devious pass rush paths. I'm excited to see what he does and how the Eagles are able to handle it, and if they're able to exploit perhaps a more man-heavy approach on the Packers' back end, or if Jair Alexander and Eric Stokes are actually able to maybe do something, or Jair follows somebody around maybe. I'm excited for that matchup.
I agree. I think when we talk about the Packers, or especially when you talk about the Packers and their Super Bowl potential or serious contender potential, the reason why we think that that's possible for them is because of the offense, but where exactly they fall on the scale of a team that makes the playoffs to a team that really could beat anybody just comes down to where they are defensively. I think that's a lot bigger of a mystery for sure than the Packers offense, which will be good. It just depends on who exactly is going to be out there catching the passes for them, I think.
Blaiden, what are you excited to see week 1? Most excited?
Well, I actually wasn't focused on Packers-Eagles as much as you two were.
Good.
Good. I was looking at one of the early rivalry matchups of the week, Chargers and Raiders. I'm thinking the defensive line of the Raiders going up against the offensive line of the Chargers. Joe Alt now being there, him going up against Max Crosby should be really cool. Slater versus Kuntz should be awesome. And then, of course, the addition of Wilkins. How does he match up against the Chargers? I think that's going to be a really fun matchup. And then, of course, your boy Justin Herbert. How is he going to handle the new weapons on his team, and the potential of new pressure? And then, of course, Harbaugh, and is he going to get arrested? And
dude, I am so excited. I'm imagining a world where Justin Herbert builds a lead versus Las Vegas, and then they lean on the ground, and it actually takes them home. Goosebumps.
And if it doesn't, then it's not his fault again. Truly, we can't lose. No.
And if he doesn't, it's because of the receivers, right?
Right.
No, it's really perfect for Justin. I am excited to see exactly how bad this passing offense is, because I don't want to say that they threw their hands up at the receiver situation, but they had a choice of basically cutting their pass rushers or cutting their receivers, and they said, we're going to cut the receivers. And I like Ladd a lot. Yeah. But they're going into this year the receivers are going to suck. You don't see that very often with a quarterback this good. So where exactly they fall, is it Herbert can bring them up to still a passable level, even with horrifying weapons, and maybe they don't hit a lot of explosives, but they can stay on pace, and that pairs well with the ground game, and they do hit that sort of 8-9 win territory that a lot of people in Vegas has them in? Or is it the ground game is only all right, and it's just tough to stay on track and have successful dropbacks when you don't have guys who are winning out there, and Josh Palmer's the one, and Ladd maybe doesn't look like he needs to out of the gate. It's a pretty big range for them. I don't think their offensive line is going to be bad. I think the way they invested was a good idea. I can get behind that. But I wonder how ugly it makes this season when you're sort of having to hit that reset button a little bit like they did.
And the Raiders are similarly built. I feel like in the trenches on the defensive side of the ball, they can get pressure, right? They kind of look like the Browns last year, where it's you've got kind of that 1A special defensive player of the year type that you can base everything off of, him winning his one-on-one, and then everybody else kind of deploying to wherever the quarterback may escape to. You've got him and Christian Wilkins, right? They're going to run. I'm excited to see how they're going to combine and make each other better. Kuntz on the other side. It's going to be a tough test early for an offensive line. I think we're all excited about it. For Alt to be the right pick over Neighbors, he's got to look, pretty damn good this season, and pretty damn good all the time. Right. And to face Max Crosby probably the entire game, right? Week 1, that is a marquee matchup. And then whoever kind of wins there, I think the weak links on both teams are kind of that back end, or in the Chargers case, the receiver room. So it is kind of evenly matched, although Herbert kind of is the thing, right?
Yeah. If the Raiders start really getting pressure, you would expect the ball to get out quicker, and then you're really leaning on these receivers to make plays after the catch. And if the Raiders can't get pressured, then they're really leaning on their secondary to hold up in coverage, deep into the play. Seeing the potential of Brendan Rice getting significant playing time would be very fascinating.
Yeah.
Did he make the roster?
That's a good question.
I honestly have no idea. I remember seeing the graphic.
I think that Brent, even though the receiving core is bad, they still want their best three out there, which doesn't
which is Palmer, McConkey, and it's Chark probably is the third guy.
You think Chark is getting time over?
No, I think the idea here is that we invested a first round pick in this receiver. We're playing him year 2, and if it doesn't work out, who cares? Because what's the long term upside with Chark is he's a fine player, but however, I think if they're you were just saying best 3 week 1, I bet Chark would be in there.
Yes, I don't think we'll be seeing a lot of Brendan Rice week 1 unless there's a horrible string of injuries. Maybe week 17 that might be more of a Brendan Rice territory.
When I put out my record predictions, I forgot that I forgot to do the Raiders Chargers week 18 matchup. So they each only played 16 games. And so when I made the video, I was like, they just both mutually agreed that no one needs to see them play twice. And that'll be that.
They did what they couldn't do when they had a chance to tie and both go to the playoffs. They shook hands and said,
this is that season. This is that season.
Matt, are there any other games or matchups that you have your eye on week 1?
Well, I think the big thing that we're watching for in general, this is sort of the theme of what I picked, not everything, but one of the big things, is what do we need to see out of contenders for them to actually reach that level where they can go, win the Super Bowl, go on a run, beat the Chiefs, however you want to put it. Mm-hmm. For the Packers, I think you're right, it's their defense in general. For the Lions, to me, it's a couple of things, but I want to see their defensive line. Exactly how good is their tackle duo with McNeil and Reeder going to be, and what does Hutchinson look like this year? Now, don't get me wrong. Their defensive back room is just as big of a question. Honestly, bigger, right? How Arnold pans out is absolutely key to this team. But I think they made enough additions there where hopefully it can be better than it was last year, and it feels like we'll learn as we go. But I think if their defense is going to actually be kind of a force, which I think it has the potential to, it'll be because they've got 3 stars on their defensive line. If Reeder comes back and he's playing like he was in Cincinnati, if McNeil takes another step, which he totally can, and honestly, if Hutchinson can just build a little bit off what he did last year, and even if he looks like he did last year, he was really starting to get up there in terms of numbers and production. Mm-hmm. They're going to have a really tough group to run at, and they're going to be able to get after the pass rusher, hopefully, if that other edge spot can clear up for them.
Yeah, I think that you've got to be worried if you're the Rams. Alaric Jackson suspended, Jonah Jackson questionable, Rob Havenstein questionable from what I'm seeing on the ESPN depth chart right now. I remember not last year, but the year before, the Rams played the Bills week 1, and it was just immediately clear, this offensive line just doesn't have it anymore. They lost their left tackle, Whitworth, and now it's looking kind of over. I think when you look at the Rams' offensive line this year, they got Dotson, he's a beast, Steve Avila as well. I don't think has to be a complete disaster, but just with kind of the suspensions and the injuries they're facing up front, how that unit looks to begin the season could go a long way because they have a tough schedule to begin it, and they're in a very tough division. So looking at that, and it's nice to have this matchup week 1 just because it feels like we just saw it, right? In the playoff wildcard round, it will be very easy to see the steps forward or back that these teams made. Will Puka Nacua go for 150 yards like he did last time, or is Arnold just going to be the guy that you can put on him and he can chase him around in man coverage potentially, and you're going to look a lot better? We'll kind of know right away how much better the secondary is than last year because these teams just faced off, and it was a very close game. I think this one is going to be a more lopsided win in the Detroit Lions' favor. than it was last time. I'm not very high on the Rams. I think the Rams have all kinds of issues. I've talked about the offensive line and some of the question marks there. I think that the defense, too, is something to keep an eye on. Just how much are they going to miss Aaron Donald, and what is their scheme going to be? Last time they were in that 3-4 bear front with Hoyt as an outside linebacker, kind of famously picked on by Ben Johnson in coverage in this playoff game. Yep. This season, I think that the drafting of Verse kind of signals a scheme change, or at least it must, because I feel like Verse you never, ever want playing outside linebacker, dropping into coverage, but you also don't want him playing like that heavy end spot. So I'm excited to see, or interested to see, exactly how they try to replace Donald in the aggregate, like kind of with all four guys making an impact. Like what exactly are they running front-wise with Raheem Morris gone, stunt-wise? Like what are their pressure packages? Because it's going to have to be pretty special because the back end there isn't strong enough to withstand the loss, a huge decrease in pressure rate with the loss of Donald. So they're going to have to, and it's against a really tough offensive line. So I'm not super optimistic about that because Donald was giving them buckets last year in that playoff game. Like Donald was beating them up badly on the interior. This year, Kobe Turner could still do that, but as for the rest of them,
I'm a big fan of their defensive line. I feel like Kobe Turner, Byron Young, Jared Verse, that does feel like you're not going to replace Aaron Donald, obviously, but it feels like a decent succession plan of a collection of young players. But I think overall, the main issue with this Rams team is it's too much stars and scrubs. I think you look at, it's like, Stafford, Kupp, Nakua, Kyron. Yeah, great group of guys there on offense. What else do you got?
The stars I don't have a problem with. It's all the scrubs that kill.
It's all the scrubs, right?
Yeah, their undrafted free agent starting linebacker that they've got. I can imagine Ben Johnson has the red dot on him. Like, how are they going to get stops? Basically, like that's something I'm definitely.
They're going to have to generate a ton of pressure, and if they're not, like, then they're just going to lose.
Mm-hmm. Right. It feels like it would kind of be like the cherry on top of Donald's career for the Rams defense to be tragically bad immediately after he left. Not that that's like a good way to predict it, but you can just imagine it playing out like that and being like, hey, here's one more season, even though he's not in the league, of talking about just how valuable and just how good he was.
Mm-hmm. We'll see, though. I think Kobe Turner has a lot of potential. I think that he could maybe be a surprise super breakout. You know, he already kind of broke out last year. He had the third highest pressure rate of a rookie since 2018 behind Christian Barmore and Jalen Carter, who I feel like get a lot more hype than Kobe Turner as like potential game wreckers. But maybe he's that dude. Like maybe he can really, obviously not become Aaron Donald, but become one of the top 5 defensive tackles in the league, top 10, like maybe, who knows?
Yeah. I mean, we gave him a little bit of a mention when we did our top 10 defensive tackle episode, but we did give Barmore much more respect, I felt like.
But we'll see.
Theo, what else are you eyeballing?
Don't know if I'd say excited, but I'm curious about Atlanta versus Pittsburgh and everything going on there that is new. I'm excited to see the Arthur Smith revenge game. I really am. And I think that he needs to do something completely different than we have seen from him before, right? Like otherwise he's probably not going to be an OC for much longer. His running plan last year was so focused on getting to the perimeter. I'd like to see that change. If you're running that with Najee Harris getting a lion's share of your workload, it's not going to be successful. Yep. You've got to run more downhill. You've got to involve some sort of puller, some gap scheme. Arthur Smith has never wanted to do that. It's comical how little he pulls his guys, but I think like that's what Broderick Jones, that's what you want him to be doing. Troy Fautanu, I think it's fair to want him to, you want him in space and connecting with linebackers at the second level. He's that type of athlete. Like I think they've got some guys and some running backs who would really thrive in that scheme. And I looked it up. It wasn't on the biggest sample size, but Pittsburgh was a top 5 EPA per gap run team last year. So, and it's something Smith just completely avoids. So, did he learn anything? Is he going to match his scheme to his players' skill set this time around? Because if he does do that, I do think that Atlanta has, he knows the personnel better than anyone. If he can cook up the right game plan, it's just a matter of not being stubborn, I feel like, and maybe leaning a bit more into his under center identity that we haven't really seen since Tennessee with Derrick Henry. And then on the opposite side, what does Atlanta's kind of personnel look like without this in the building? I'm excited to see Bijan Robinson in a different offense where he's actually able to run more inside zone and duo instead of just getting tosses and trying to get to the sideline all the time. I think that's what he was better at Texas. Like, I definitely didn't think of him as like a speedy home run hitter up the sideline. I thought of him like pick your way between the tackles, and he wasn't really given an opportunity to do that last year. Now that Zach Taylor and the Rams are in town, I expect a more Kyren Williams-esque inside zone, mid zone type run scheme for him. He was good at running it last year. They just wanted Tyler Algier doing it between the tackles. Tyler Algier on inside zone and duo was at 3.5 yards per attempt. If I remember correctly, I should have written this down. Bijan was at 5.1 on those runs, but Tyler Algier outtouched Bijan on those kind of downhill runs.
It really, just like a bizarre decision from Atlanta last year.
Very strange.
Have you guys seen this this series on TikTok, 3-star versus 5-star? It's like Jackson Blaziken and Daryl Cummington. This is what that feels like, where like they're just giving the running back coach really loves Tyler Algier, but in this case it's Arthur Smith really loves Tyler Algier. I get it. The sound that the pads make when Algier lowers his shoulder, you get some goosebumps, right? If you're a real football guy, that downhill mentality but no one hits Bijan's pads,
I
like
don't
he can
get
still
it at
go
all,
down high.
I disagree. So I'm on board. I think Bijan really does have the potential to break out as like the best running back in the NFL this year. I think that's totally within him. It just comes down to a workload thing. And just overall, the offense, I think, has got to be a little bit better. I don't want to say that the lack of like quarterback play hurt Bijan, I guess, but it'd be nice to have everything sort of spaced out and really be able to, connect with drives and stuff like that. And they just weren't able to last year. So I'm pretty excited about that as well. Blaiden, do you have?
All right, one more thing on this. I think Bijan, I know he can run a more downhill type scheme. He was better at it in college than what Arthur Smith was doing.
Yeah.
The offensive line, though, is kind of built to do what Arthur Smith wanted it to do with like Chris Lindstrom and tackles kind of with these shorter arms, I feel like really good in space. So how much can they change their identity with the offensive line personnel that they have? Because that's kind of remained unchanged. Or can they just perfectly shift? I don't know. They might.
This is another good trenches matchup with Atlanta and Pittsburgh. You look at Pittsburgh's, defensive, or I guess just their whole like box defense. With the addition of Patrick Queen, especially, you got Ogunjobi, Benton, Hayward. I mean, they could just, if that's a team that could, get downhill, they might be able to stop, this kind of scheme against Atlanta.
For sure. I think it's going to be a good game. I don't think I could see a lopsided Pittsburgh victory. I could see maybe the Falcons just outpacing them, but I do think that it's going to be even. I like... I think both of these teams are like kind of that flawed contender, right? So we'll see.
Contender.
Playoff contender, that is, not Super Bowl.
Yeah. I feel you on that. I might have to hit us. I tried to avoid quarterbacks as much as possible because, like I said, we could just do every single one of them. Absolutely cannot have this list without Aaron Rodgers on it.
Yeah.
I think he is probably the single most interesting story in all of football this year.
You know, there's just something magical about being at a live event, whether it's the energy of a packed stadium, the thrill of a concert, or the laughter at a comedy show. There's truly nothing like it. I remember catching a game last year, one of those last-minute decisions where everything just fell into place. The roar of the crowd, the buzz in the air. It's an experience you just can't replicate anywhere else. And I'm really looking forward to making even more memories this year. That's why I'm so excited to tell you about Game Time, the app that's been a game changer for me. They've had this new feature called Game Time Picks, and trust me, it's a lifesaver. It takes all the hassle out of finding tickets by showing you the best deals on the best seats. So no more endless scrolling or second guessing. Just the other day, I was looking for tickets to an upcoming concert, one I've been dying to see, and I decided to check out Game Time Picks, and let me tell you, the deals they had were unreal. I found a super deal that was just too good to pass up, and within minutes, I had my seats locked in. The app even let me preview the view from my seats before I bought them, so I knew exactly what to expect. But what really impressed me was with how easy the whole process was. The app is super intuitive, and with features like all-in pricing, there were no surprise fees at checkout. What you see is what you get. Plus, with their lowest price guarantee, I knew I was getting the best possible deal. And if anything happened, like the event got canceled, they got you covered with their flexible customer service policy. So if you're anything like me and you want to take the guesswork out of buying tickets, you've got to check out Game Time. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code BLADENK for $20 off your first purchase. That's, of course, BLAIDENK for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
I don't know if that's an exaggeration. He is 40 years old coming off an Achilles. Yeah. He has been great before, but like there's all this drama about how much he's going to be able to like get back from that. But he has been like basically talking trash about how he's going to be able to come back. And it's not like a rookie QB where, again, if like Jaden Daniels thinks Washington doesn't think they're going to be good this year. Dude, the Jets have absolutely everything on the line with how good Rodgers is. You could know in like 2 weeks how their season's going to go. So I think I couldn't be more excited. I mean, that's the Monday night game, Jets versus Niners.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's gonna.
Yeah, I could not be more excited for that one. How he looks is absolutely everything. So, and what kills me, I guess, is that I have no idea what to believe. I don't know. I don't think he's going to be able to go out and create as much. But people have been coming back better and better and better from Achilles injuries. Like, not even that long ago, an Achilles would just be a career ender. Like, you'd just be done playing good. You know, I think about Kobe all the time. Like, he messed up his Achilles. That was it. Like, he was never the same again. But then you can look, you know, not even 10 years later, it's like Kevin Durant is all of a sudden one of these guys who is super great long term and is talking about like maybe I can play in 2028 for the Olympic team when I'm 39 or 40 or whatever. It's ridiculous.
Sure.
So I kind of like I can't be completely out on the fact that maybe Rodgers can come back and not be incredibly mobile, but still be Rodgers and still get the ball out and still be a massive upgrade from what they've had in previous years. And the defense can be great. Like, I can buy into all of that. And I picked him second in the AFC East, which I feel like it's not nothing. I mean, it's a tough division. So
I totally hear you. I think the Jets, the more I think about them, the more I think this team has the capability to kind of be a powerhouse a little bit. They've got one of the top rushers in the entire league. I know that he was at one point first in yards per carry last season, while Dalvin Cook was last, which I think just kind of goes to show his caliber. Right. How he was able to produce behind that offensive line in a bad situation really impressed me. Garrett Wilson, obviously, we're still all extremely high on what he's able to do once he's out of the 32 ranked passing offense. Rodgers, I completely agree. I don't want to bet against him with this Achilles stuff. Just we've seen guys come back before. KD's a good example, like you mentioned. We've seen plenty of quarterbacks play well in their 40s. I don't think the arm talent is what the problem was in 2022. When that starts to go as an old quarterback, you are really on washed watch. But I think that Rodgers is going to come out there, and I don't think he's going to be throwing up lollipops. I think that arm talent is still going to be there.
Big Ben season?
No, I don't think so. So, man, could this be just a great game between two contenders right off the bat? I think it could be, but obviously with the Jets, everything is an unknown.
Yeah, it was so hard to predict their season just because you really do have no idea how good Rodgers is going to be. It's been now so long since we've even seen him play football. And like you said, he's 40 years old coming off an Achilles tear. So they really do have such a wide range of outcomes.
Mm-hmm. No doubt.
But another team also has a wide range of outcomes. And I don't think it would be a proper Stay Hot episode if I didn't bring up the Cleveland Browns playing the Dallas Cowboys week 1. No Nick Chubb. So it is really going to be another quarterback to watch. Deshaun Watson, they're going to have to lean on him to really lead this offense. And if he sucks, I mean, that's kind of the season right there. Because he's been terrible. He's either been terrible or not been on the field in his entire tenure in Cleveland. And so if he comes out and continues to be terrible, that is going to be the story of the season once again. It's just what do the Browns do at quarterback? Because they continue to push back this contract. They recently restructured him again, so they had to add a void year to 2027. So it's all this money that just keeps getting pushed down the line. At some point, he either needs to play good or we need to figure out something else.
Yeah, and I think that with Ken Dorsey in the fold now, there's going to be even more pressure on him because I think that their shotgun rate, their pass rate is going to go up. Yeah. And obviously, the longer he goes without showing anything, the more pressure is on him to be good. I think I don't have very high expectations for him, but what I would start to like to see, is any kind of rhythm, the short passing, the quick passing, sustain a drive with West Coast, just get the ball out of your hands off the 3-step drop back. Just, can you do that? It's okay if the Browns don't win this game. It's okay if they struggle against the Cowboys defense, if they're not able to run the ball, if they don't connect on the deep shots. There needs to be some semblance of rhythm, and they need to avoid sacks in some manner because Watson has had no capability of doing that since he's returned to Cleveland. And I think that there's going to be even more opportunities for him to drop back this year with Dorsey and the addition of Judy, of course. I'm also excited to see Jamari thrash my bench stash in the 32% league.
There we go, man. There we go. Cedric Tillman. Don't forget about the best wide receiver 4 in the NFL. My criticism of Watson continues to be he just looks slow. Every motion that he does looks like the slowest in the NFL, from his drop back to his release to his progressions. Everything just feels like he's moving in slow motion, and that process just needs to speed up. So like you said, Theo, the quick game, I would love to see that. If we can just execute some 3-step drop, get the ball out lightning quick, RPOs, whatever. Let's get the ball out quick. I want to see that because that's the one thing that we haven't seen. And
there's going to be a lot more RPOs with Dorsey. They haven't really run them, but the Bills did them all the time. Matt, what were you saying?
I was on a call with my dad the other day, who is a Browns fan, for those who don't know, which I'm assuming is everybody. And he asked me, he's like, how do you think the Browns are going to be? And I gave him the whole we'll see with Watson, but the run game's usually pretty good. And the defense will probably still be pretty great. I mean, Myles Garrett, I expect to, do his thing. And my dad's like, I think they're going to win 6 games. Honestly,
Oh, no.
That really convinced me.
That breaks my heart.
He was just so confident in the idea that they're really not going to be great. And I started thinking after that, man, if it wasn't for Myles Garrett, I'd have absolutely no fear picking them as a 5-win team, dude.
I got them with 7 wins in my record prediction.
Oh no!
Yeah, I don't think that's crazy. I really don't.
Yeah, I think that maybe their offense looks better with Dorsey. I do think that the return of RPOs to Deshaun Watson's menu is going to help him. But I would beware if he's getting rid of the ball quick, and it's just like an RPO that gets tackled immediately. Like it needs to be a little bit farther down the field than that, I think, unless he's really, really good at it. That you can't build an offense around them.
Right.
But
I mean, this is the thing. If we want to say, well, he needs to get the ball down the field, he needs to be able to get through his reads.
Yeah.
There were so many times last year where he would just get stuck on the first read, and then he would have to try and break a tackle in the pocket. And sometimes he would even do that, but then his eyes aren't actually moving to the next guy that he needs to get the ball to, and he's doing a scramble drill with his eyes down.
Yeah.
This is not productive offense, man.
No. Yeah, I think that this is going to be a pretty rough offensive performance. The Browns weren't very good at running it last year. After Nick Chubb went down, I mean, they were fine.
Yeah. Ford had some moments, but he's not Nick Chubb.
Yeah. So, and the Cowboys were, I mean, you can run it right down their throat, but without kind of the passing offense to go along with it, they can't stop the run. So the Browns, I think, are favored in this game by 2.5. I think the Cowboys, money line, by the way, people, is a worthy bet at plus money versus Cleveland.
Wow, Browns favored. That actually surprises me. I think the Browns can win this game, but yeah, this is one where I definitely have predicted them to lose, just because I feel like there's a lot that doesn't match up very well. The Cowboys defense is fully loaded. They've got all their ball hawking DBs on the field. Micah Parsons.
Well, Bland is out.
Oh, is Bland out? I did not see that.
Oh, Bland is out a while. He's out 6 to 8 weeks.
Oh.
But he got hurt. Probably.
Okay, yeah, I'm seeing Bland is on the IR. CeeDee Lamb is out. Oh, hold on.
No.
So that's
CeeDee Lamb is not out week 1.
I'm seeing CeeDee Lamb out.
Did that just happen?
It's just listed on ESPN as out, but that's
no.
The Cowboys were granted a 2-game roster exemption for Lamb on Tuesday, and have placed him on the commissioner's exempt list.
No, he's playing. He's playing. Sorry. You're on Chat GDP generating.
Chat GPT.
Give me positive Browns stories. No.
What's the?
No, he's playing. I'm on the Browns defense though. I'll be interested to see if they switch up their coverage at all after the playoff disaster last year. If last year was good enough to just run single high man coverage, they locked everybody down, they swamped everyone with pressure. Maybe after they got picked on in the playoffs, we see some more too high zone mixed in there. They could use a little bit of variety.
Yeah, yeah. I think the corners have their moments. I do still hold the belief that Emerson's a little bit overrated. People love him, and then Newsome just can get absolutely torched at times. But Dentel's still good.
Yeah. I'm interested to see how their defense plays out for sure. I have another matchup that I'm kind of interested in. This is sort of quarterbacky, so I apologize. But Seahawks defense versus Bo Nix. How McDonald, how he looks week 1. He's a dude who often would draw up a bunch of different stunts and blitzes and could get very creative with things. And one of the notes that we had about Bo Nix in the preseason, particularly week 1, even though I think more of his preseason was good than bad, was that sometimes he looked a little bit more panicked than he did in college. And sometimes the pressure bothered him a little bit more than it did in college, which is one of the things we really liked about him at Oregon, or at least I did. How does that play out? Do the Seahawks get pressure and does it bother him? Or is McDonald like what he wants to drop? Is it not really going to affect their numbers? And do they just not have the 1A guy that they need? I think they have dudes. I think it's going to be pretty decent. I've started to warm up to that here as we've gotten closer to the season. So we could really set the tone for the Seahawks and the Broncos whole seasons, because I feel like they're two teams that are really up in the air going into this.
Definitely excited to see what Mike McDonald dreams up and what Sean Payton's plan is to beat it. It's going to be tough to start a rookie quarterback against this defense. So it's how do you protect him and still win the game. Are you just running right through it? Is that your plan? I could definitely see that, like max protect, play action. I don't know. Blitzes aren't always good against play. I don't know what the plan will be. But yeah, definitely excited to see how they kind of balance. We don't want Bo Nix to throw 5 interceptions, but also we have to be somewhat aggressive to keep up with Seattle's offense probably. So what is the balance there? Are they able to strike it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm really excited for that Seattle defense, man. I think they're going to just be completely ridiculous especially on the defensive line. The pass rush could just be completely broken.
For sure.
You know, the one thing you're really worried about is probably the linebacking core, and then the secondary wasn't great last year outside of Witherspoon.
No.
So you're hoping those guys can, like, especially Reek Woolen, you're hoping can really get back to form from his rookie season. But if anyone can get them right, it's Mike McDonald. Right?
You want it to look very different than the Pittsburgh game last year. I think that this could kind of be a similar game plan. Like, hey, let's get under center, let's run the ball. Like, that is what Sean Payton kind of wants to do. He wants to be one of the toughest running teams that there is, and they've got a bunch of tackle breaking, like physical running backs. And it wasn't that long ago when the Seahawks just had no answers for that kind of thing. Like, they couldn't tackle anybody. Right. They just looked completely discombobulated. If they can avoid death by a million cuts on the ground in this game, like, I don't think Bo Nix is beating them. So can they stop the basic stay on schedule runs is probably my biggest key. And then if they do, like, can they just kill Nix on third down? I don't know. Or is Nix going to be able to be comfortable? Do you guys have any
pretty heavy favorites in this game? 6 points, it looks like.
As they probably should be. I mean, it is Bo Nix against a pretty good defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
I certainly think the Seahawks should be favored. Do you guys have any questions about the Baltimore-Kansas City game before we head on to the locks?
Yeah, I do. I mean, it's hard not to wonder how much more explosive Kansas City's offense is going to be, right? That's the big question about this team. It feels like they were, maybe I'm misremembering the numbers, but it feels like they were the least explosive they've ever been with Mahomes last season. And the number one thing that they wanted to change, it seems like this offseason, was that, right? They brought in Brown, who is not playing, if I heard correctly. Yes. But they brought in Worthy. It's going to be Rice's second year. Like, they want to air it out more. They want to bring that back. And maybe partially they're kind of just due for, like, positive regression, like things to just break their way a little bit more in terms of that. But part of it is a big focus by them. And when, I'm not saying other, like, parts of the team have slipped, but when you see a guy like Snead walk out the door, you need to see something else pick up that slack. To me, it's like, okay, I think they'll be fine, but it's going to be because they're going to be able to hit more explosives. Well, okay, can you do that? How good is Worthy as a pick? That was your first round guy. And they're going up against a Ravens secondary that we think is the best in the NFL universally on between the three of us. I mean, it's insane. We all loved Nate Wiggins. He was like our second best defensive player in the class, maybe number one, depending on how you feel about Latu and his health stuff. So the matchup between those receivers and that secondary, I'm really excited for. And just to see the Ravens defense as a whole, because almost like with the Seahawks, it's like, okay, how much is McDonald going to be able to, like, affect them, and how much value does he bring? How much value does he take away from the Ravens? Their personnel's still pretty good. It still should be really strong.
Yeah, for sure. Zach Orr, 32 years old, is the second youngest defensive coordinator in the league. That's about as green as it gets. And
who's the youngest?
I think the Cardinals guy, I can't remember his name. I think the Cardinal, like, obviously Gannon is there, but I think their DC is like 30. But at any rate, like, Zach Orr can kind of do whatever he wants with this personnel. I think my expectation is more blitzing. Like, last year they had the replacement pressures and the sim pressures, right, that everybody talked about with the zone behind it. Those weren't really blitzes because they would bring in Kyle Hamilton or something and then they drop away. So it was still a 4-person rush.
Yeah.
I think if you're a young defensive coordinator and you kind of want to live in that creative world, but maybe keep yourself a little bit safer, it's just like, let's rush 5. Let's actually create these one-on-ones and see what Matabike can do. And like Trenton Simpson, for example, very young player, like send him downhill and keep all 4 downhill as well. I think that might be the next iteration of this Ravens defense, is just try to actually heat people up a little bit more with more bodies, because you've got the back end to cover for it, and you've got a young defensive coordinator. It might be a little bit difficult to ask a young guy to get good corner play out of his defensive ends,
Right. Yeah. Trenton Simpson, the guy I'm really interested to see, because you really don't want him to just get like pushed over, which he looked pretty solid in some of the preseason that we've seen from him. So, but if he's just running downhill, can kind of fill in the Patrick Queen role from last year, I think that's a perfectly fine thing for him to do. But yeah, Ravens Chiefs should be a good matchup. And that brings us to the Stay Hot Locks, if I'm not mistaken.
It does. Do we want to explain how they work?
We should explain it. For those that are new, Matt, go ahead and explain the Stay Hot Locks.
All right, it's real simple. You pick one game, you get 1 point. But you have to get all of your picks right in a single week to get the points. So if you pick 5 games, you only get 4 right, you get 0 points. Mm-hmm. The idea being that you have to balance the risk between like games that you think are locks versus like how many points you need. And to be honest with you, in the NFL, with how short the spreads are or how close they are, picking like 5-6 games, you never get it. It's just like the odds that you see on fans. You're like, dude, like this is crazy, bro. Like, honestly, this is like could totally hit. And then it never does, because one thing where you go into Sunday thinking, well, that game, we already know, you might as well not play it. And then it goes the other way. Right. The other rule is basically that you can challenge if you'd like. So if somebody picks, let's say, the Ravens to beat the Chiefs, you can say, I think the Chiefs will beat the Ravens, and you get double points if you're right, because somebody else locked against them. You know what I mean? But that's pretty rare. I don't think we've done that all that many times.
No, Theo, we had an instance
I got hit with a couple of those.
Well, we had an instance last year at the very last game of the season. Matt and I were competing for the championship, I guess, in the Stay Hot Locks. But Theo went and locked 12 games to try and come back.
Needed a couple of those bonuses.
Yeah.
Didn't end up hitting. I guess I would have remembered if it did.
Or not. I guess team. Not 12. Yeah,
it was a lot. It was a lot of teams.
It was a lot.
But we pick the teams through basically a snake draft, so you can't all pick the same games, which makes it more difficult. And some weeks it's nice to have the first pick, because maybe there's only like one game you really love and then like 5 or 6 that you think are all about the same. And some weeks it's like the drop off on really good ones is like at 4, and then all of a sudden you really want the turn because that gives you 2 of the good ones. We decided last time who got what pick based off of
whoever won the last week, or whoever got the most points got to choose which pick they got.
Gotcha.
So, and one other rule, ties do not count. So if you pick a game as a lock and one of the teams ends up tying,
it's a wash.
It's just a wash. Yeah.
So if you pick 3 games, you'd win 2 and it's a tie, you get 2 points.
Yep.
Now, I'm not going to make any assumptions. As the reigning, returning champion, I feel like maybe I should get my choice of which pick I get.
I think that's fair. That's
we didn't run a poll. We just run a poll on the Twitter. We didn't this time.
No, I think that's fair. You won last year. It was close. I was looking through our texts, and you had like kind of given up. You were like, "Oh man, it's over." And then I was like, "Matt, you won." I don't know what to tell you, because I think it was the 49ers lost, and I had locked them.
Oh, so. Well, who were they playing? I don't know. But it was looking bleak at one point, and I was the only one who hadn't won. And I was like, I'm going to be the only one who hadn't won.
And I was about to go I was trying to go back to back, but
we're not worried about
Matt got it done
this year, though. I'm feeling locked in. I'm taking the first pick.
Go for it.
I'm going Bengals over Patriots.
Yeah.
I think the Patriots offense is going to be pretty bad. I have some concerns about like how good the Bengals defense is going to be this year, but I think the Patriots offense is going to be pretty bad to start us off, and I think the Bengals will be able to outduel them. I think that might be the highest spread of the week. Usually I try to trust the spreads, so that's where I'm going.
Yeah, this could only not hit if Cincinnati is somehow completely discombobulated on offense, like just a total.
Right.
They snap the ball and they don't know what they're doing, which we have not really seen from
Christian Gonzalez has 3 picks and a pick 6, and that would be the only way that this.
Yeah, like they would need to be a complete disaster because New England is not taking advantage of their defense, I think. So good pick. Blaiden, I think you're up next because I got last.
Yeah, I think that's also fair. I will take Seattle over the Denver Broncos. We just talked about this game. Should be a great defense against a rookie quarterback. I think it's a pretty favorable matchup for Seattle.
Yeah. The next biggest spread is Buffalo over Arizona, but I don't think that's quite a lock for me.
I agree.
I like what Arizona has going on offense. I'm going to go with New Orleans over Carolina. I just don't know if Carolina's offense is going to be able to do much against the Saints defense. I think that they're going to be playing a ton of man coverage, and it'll be better than ever with Kool-Aid McKinstry entering the fold. I think it's going to... This defense is just a little bit too good for Bryce to really get rolling. And then I think the offense, it was average last year. I think it's going to remain average. I think it's going to remain ahead of Carolina's. So I'll go with New Orleans. And then I've got the turn. And let me get Tampa Bay over Washington. Washington was my pick to be the worst team in football on the last podcast. Mm-hmm. I just don't know if Jaden Daniels is going to roll into Tampa Bay on the road and win his first game. I think that it's going to be a shootout. I think that Mike Evans is going to eat on this defensive secondary. I don't know if Washington is going to keep pace.
So I guess that brings it back to me.
It does.
I'll go ahead and take Detroit over the Rams. That's kind of another smaller spread, only 3.5. But like we just said with the Lions, they just feel like they're it feels like quite a big mismatch against a very stars and scrubs Rams team.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I'll be real with you. I took the first pick because I thought the Bengals over the Patriots were so much better of a pick than like everything else. But everything else that I thought about picking is off the board. One thing I'm doing this year, for the record, if people haven't watched before or tuned in, you can win stay hot locks. You think you'd rack up a bunch of points. You don't, dude. You really, really don't. Like, you actually lose a lot. So you think, like, every week, I'll pick like 2 to 3 teams. Try it. Try picking 2 to 3 teams. It's not easy, especially when you don't get your best 2 or 3. Now you got to be picking like the 6th or 7th game. It gets tough. I think I won last year with like 18 points or something like that. So I'm going to stick at 1. Actually, I'm going to be out with just Bengals over Patriots. I think stretching and trying to get a second for the sake of getting a second, bad idea.
I don't think that's a bad take at all. I'm also going to be out with 2. I'm not going to try and push it anymore. I don't really love any of these other matchups.
The Bills do have a 6.5 point spread. They do. Could be good value if you guys drop out. But I like Arizona. It was one of my hot takes, and I have money on Arizona covering this spread.
I think you should take like 3 or 4 more,
I'm going to take a funny one. Let's do a silly one. I'm going to take Green Bay over Philly.
All right.
This is exactly how Theo got behind last year. He just like, you know what?
What? Why not? A lot of it was like an emotional, I would kind of swing between emotional hedge on Green Bay or irrational confidence in Green Bay. I feel like
either you're happy or you're right.
No, I totally feel you. I mean, dude, you picked the Saints, and I like, in the back of my head, I heard the little voice like, dude, you could challenge that for 2 points, bro. Pick the Panthers.
Oh, you should do that, Matt.
I really shouldn't. Like, I know exactly how that goes down. They lose a game by 30. No, I'm not going to jinx them. Though. I'm not jinxing my team week 1. So we're going to let it ride.
Yeah.
Now they're gonna lose because you didn't challenge. I hope you.
I'm gonna go with Green Bay though. I think that it's gonna be somewhat high scoring. I feel like, and the Eagles are just a little bit too grumpy to be in Brazil. Like they got Darius Slay being like, "I'm pissed that we're going." Like they asked Smith about it, and he was kind of obviously unpleased. I think they don't have enough vigor for this week 1 matchup down in South America. I think they're getting a little bit too grumpy about it to get the win.
Yeah, I think Vegas is missing that.
I think so too. Do I should get double point? I'm picking a straight up dog to be a lock. I feel like that's a dumb idea, but we're doing it.
How much of dogs are they? They can't be that. It's
2.5,
man.
I mean, it's the same as Dallas.
If you were to pick the Cardinals as a lock, that I would.
Yeah, no. The Green Bay Dallas parlay is screaming my name week 1. To be honest.
Oh, brother.
Dude, we gotta make sure that we get these pick ideas when we're talking about them in early. I live in Cincinnati, but on the other side of the river in Kentucky. If I want to place a bet, I have to drive to the other side of the river. It's like 10 minutes. So I can be my location is in Ohio.
Kind of in the middle.
I honestly am so curious. Next time I'm walking, because I can just walk across the bridge, I'm going to figure out like exactly where. If I'm on the Ohio River, can I place a bet?
Like if it was in the middle, you know those like swimming platforms that you kind of anchor down and they're just floating out there like to swim off the dock. Maybe you could put one in the middle of the river and then have like a kayak or something and maybe cut down on your emissions or like gas money spent. Because it sucks to lose money just trying to bet driving, right? Like that, there is an opportunity cost there. So you need to find
very true.
You need to find like some sort of fast, fuel efficient way to do it. Otherwise, you need to.
Or you could just like go for a jog, and that's like your workout to place a bet.
It's like a reward for jogging.
There's a lot of workarounds. It makes you very mindful about your picks. You know, you can't just sit down in front of the TV at 12:50 and say, "Okay, I think I like Dak Prescott yards." You have to go out. It's like going to the grocery store almost. Mm-hmm. Like I need eggs, butter.
I think it will make
Panthers
you
money line.
I need Dak, Bijan.
Yeah, I'm telling you, because I like to have a little action. So.
Yeah.
I'll figure something. Maybe it makes a morning walk on Sundays a must.
That's a good mentality. I think having a designated spot that you have to go bet and preventing the like impulse ones because they're so it's such a bad impulse, right? You're watching the game, it's like 3 plays in, you're like, oh, I know how this is gonna go, and you place the live bet with like no research. I feel like that's the easiest way to lose money probably ever invented. So like if you're forced to get out of the house and like do some research before the game.
Matt, is there like a FanDuel like sports bar near you, like a FanDuel casino near you in Cincinnati?
Maybe. I honestly have no idea. There's a casino, but I don't think it's FanDuel.
Okay. Well, that's I didn't know. I just said that because they're my guys, but like it could be anyone.
I think there is.
So the locks are Matt has the Bengals over the Patriots. I have the Seahawks over the Broncos, and the Lions over the Rams, and then Theo has the Saints over the Panthers, the Bucks over the Commanders, and the Packers over the Eagles. Off to a good start. We'll see how it goes. But we have one more thing we want to hit before we get out. We're sitting at around an hour. We've been doing these top fives. We did top 5 fruits a couple weeks ago, top 5 vegetables recently. You all hated those. So today we're doing something that there's no way we could possibly mess up. Top 5 desserts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Blaiden, how about you go first? Right, kick us off right.
Kick us off
right.
All right. Hear me out. Ready? Number 1, apple pie. Number 2, good start, right? Number 2, I'm gonna go. I'll pivot and do something else if you guys don't like this one, or like if you don't think it counts. Donuts.
That counts.
That counts, yeah.
You think donuts count? Okay, so apple pie number 1, donuts number 2, chocolate chip cookie number 3, brownie number 4, and then what did I have as number 5? Hold on, I forgot what I had as number 5. Oh, ice cream. Ice cream is number 5.
Okay.
Ice cream in general starting to get a little bit too
broad.
Too broad, I think. What's your favorite ice cream?
Vanilla.
Lemon.
You know this.
Okay. then vanilla. That's true.
So,
vanilla
apple,
ice cream.
Apple pie. I'll even specify donut. Apple pie, apple fritter, chocolate chip cookie, brownie, vanilla ice cream.
I can get behind that.
Okay, let's go.
I'm not offended, no.
Let's go. I win.
I'm going to hit you with chocolate pie at 1. My mom makes one that's incredibly good. So I can't hear anything.
Not really up for debate.
Not really up for debate, I'm afraid. Number 2, I'm going chocolate chip cookies. That's what my grandma always makes. Yeah. So that's coming to the top of my head.
I think that's what everybody always makes.
Right. Well, that's
chocolate chip cookies. I think are an essential.
I agree.
They're an essential. Yeah, I have them up here. Brownies at 3. I think is what I'm going to go with. Mm-hmm. Then at number 4, I'm actually going to go with. Okay, I can't do like this certain type of sugar cookie that my grandma makes because that's like totally bogus. No. At 4,
you're
I'll
big
go
into the. I had it as a young boy with your candy list and your dessert list.
That's. I think that's totally fair, dude. Because I'm not like desserts. I'm not gonna go to the grocery store and pick up a pie.
Correct.
Ever, dude.
You know,
like,
I can confirm. Matt does not shop for sweets. He doesn't, and he always gets mad when he visits me, and I've got snacks because he will just eat.
Dude, you've got like a bowl of candy out on your coffee table. Like that's your thing, and then I'll just sit there and I'll like whittle it down 15 minutes at a time. It's like I haven't had one little tiny thing of Kit Kat, and then I feel gross.
Yeah, you'll eat more candy from my.
I don't know. I honestly don't know how to
one night than I will in like 6 months.
And they're just like calling to me, dude. So I can't keep that stuff in the house ever. So maybe that's why my picks are weird. But I think sugar cookies are good. I'll stand on that. But if we're going regular picks, I think fudge is really good, and I'm gonna go funnel cake at 5.
Oh,
funnel cake is elite.
Funnel cake is a great pick.
Funnel cake is super good. Now you can't like ever have it really. That is the problem. Like as maybe is the case with most of these things, and it also does have the problem of kind of a pain in the ass to eat. But if I'm eating a dessert, I'm like more willing to go through a little trials and tribulations because I'm already having like a pretty ridiculous like sweet treat.
I completely forgot about funnel cake. That is a fantastic pick. I'm not going to steal it from you because I have respect and ethics, but great pick. Was that 5?
Yeah.
Okay, Theo.
So I'm gonna go with chocolate chip cookies and ice cream as my top 2. I think those are kind of the two goats, the greatest to ever do it. If I'm gonna have a dessert, those are typically what I'm going for. I'm gonna go with apple pie, apple crumble. I'll say apple pie to keep it clean. Yeah. Very delicious. Graphic. Next, I'm gonna go with a churro, a cinnamon deep fried like cake stick. It's really not that different than a funnel cake, except it's
no, not really. It's basically
it's a little bit less. It's a little bit less messy, maybe, and you can.
It's more practical. I don't think that's a bad pick at all. And
then I'm gonna go with a personal favorite of mine that might elicit groans, but I'm going to go
That's what I'm going to say. The second somebody starts talking about my personal opinion, you know it's over.
Yeah, no, it's going to be bad. I like chocolate-covered strawberries a lot.
I don't think you're going to get a lot of groans from that.
I have mixed feelings about that because my parents for my birthday have been sending me edible arrangements. Like that's what they'll get me, which is awesome. I think they're delicious, chocolate covered strawberries. Like they are absolutely top tier. Those are the single most messy
thing that
dessert there probably is out there. They're so good, but you either are eating it and like the chocolate is like melted on it, which is like, okay, if we're going to like a chocolate fountain and you dip your strawberries in, like, you know, no one's doing that. Or you're eating it when the chocolate is already hard and then you bite into it and like the chocolate kind of like cracks. So you got to really plan it. And then they've like left the leaves on there. So you got to rip dude, it can be a bad, like you got to sit down and lock in.
It's true. It's true. They are not the most practical. And there's a lot of good desserts out there, but I don't know. Chocolate and strawberry is a pretty undefeated combination, so I'm going with that.
Okay, I don't think you're going to get a lot of criticisms from the comments on that. I think this is going to be our most well-received top 5.
There's a lot of good answers here. There's a lot of wonderful answers here.
Yes,
I will say I might replace brownie with ice cream sandwich. Brownies are good, but ice cream sandwich, like when you get one of the classic ones.
Oh, a Klondike bar? Klondike bar?
Klondike bar. I like ice cream sandwich. We should have kept quiet. I feel like there's a.
We should have kept quiet.
Ice cream bar's elite. You don't like an ice cream bar?
I feel like there's a lot of other desserts that are a lot more flavorful than an ice cream bar. I might replace my just ice cream with maybe an ice cream sundae. Like, does that count? Because that you get like some fudge and whipped cream in there. Like, you get all kinds of toppings.
See, I'm not a big heavy chocolate fan. I'm not a big like fudge guy.
You're more of a lemon. You know?
Yeah, I'm more of a lemon fan.
Honestly, dude, lemon loaf really
lemon
could
bars
crack my
go
top
crazy.
5. Lemon loaf, like any sort of like, or I almost put lemon pie on here. My grandma makes a lemon pie. Really, I should have, dude, because it's elite.
Lemon
and it's what I had growing
good.
up. They are. Lemon is good.
It is. It's a good base. I think
I can have ice cream sandwich if chocolate chip cookie is your number 1. We all got
chocolate chip cookie is a lot better than an ice cream sandwich, I think.
You can make an ice cream sandwich with a chocolate chip cookie.
Ooh.
And that's what you do. And you get pumpkin ice cream.
Like what would have been the worst answer? What's the worst dessert?
Well, I can tell you right now, people are going to be upset that no one said pumpkin pie.
I thought about it. Pumpkin pie.
Pumpkin pie is good. It's a role player. It's a certain times a year. I'm not going to have a pumpkin pie unless it's like fall season. It's good, but I just don't want it all the time.
Would people be mad? How do you feel about like sweet potato casserole?
Is that even a dessert?
There we go.
Or like sweet potato.
That would have gotten people mad for sure.
Well, because there's like sweet potato pie, which is a dessert, right?
Blaiden
but like you can make a sweet potato casserole with marshmallows, and then to me, that's basically a dessert. It's close.
Sweet potato pie with marshmallows.
No, it's sweet potato casserole with. No, I'm not putting it on my list. I'm just. But that might upset people if I had said like number 3 sweet potato casserole.
That one definitely would have gotten the people going. I feel like if any of you guys said like frozen yogurt, I would have started to get mad.
Froyo.
Yeah, it's not top 5. It's fine.
We should have. If Blaiden, if you hit me with the gingerbread cookie, I would have been mad.
Oh, come on, man. Give me some more credit than that.
Gingerbread cookies are bad now?
I'm not saying they're bad. I'm not putting
you're right.
5?
Why am I saying belated? Matt, your grandma used to make.
And here's the thing. Dude,
grandma.
You should have seen the cookie selection, dude. It was ridiculous. I'm not playing at all, dude. I'm talking like boxes and boxes and boxes. What do you know about haystacks? What do you know about like these coconut cookie bars? Not much.
Anything with coconut, I would have rolled my eyes at. I guess I can't blame you too much. My grandma makes these peanut butter like balls that are kind of structured like a Reese's, I would say.
And they weren't top 5.
They weren't top 5. I wasn't thinking about the personalized dessert, but they would be in my top 5.
Of the top 5s that you have, Matt, you kind of did that already with like yours are all at your grandma's house, but Theo, where's the best place to get your chocolate chip cookies, since that's your number 1?
At the Minnesota State Fair. Really, anything is at its best at the Minnesota State Fair.
Really?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
I have an opinion on that. I've never been.
I'm a big fan of the apple pies at Whole Foods. They make them just a little bit differently than everyone else because I feel like they slightly undercook their dough, or they just slightly undercook the pie. So it's like a softer dough and crunchier apples, and I like that. I don't like a crispy dough on pie.
Personally, an apple pie is not even in my top 3 pies. I'm taking chocolate, I'm taking lemon, and I'm taking pumpkin.
Really?
I'm not quite. It's not quite like low tier enough for me to give you guys shit because the apple pie is a classic, and we've got chocolate chip cookies up here. But I do think it's wrong.
Apple pie with vanilla ice cream, it might be number 1.
Okay,
but
Apple
that's kind of a
pie,
combination.
the vanilla ice cream.
The thing is, apple pie I could eat all year. You know, I feel like some of the chocolate pie I'll give you can also kind of eat all year.
Yeah, I could eat cookies every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, Matt, I was just at your house. You weren't eating cookies, brother.
No.
Fraud.
No, it's a lot of like chicken and rice bowls instead. But I wish it was cookies.
Yeah, he's got chicken and rice and protein toaster waffles.
Another one I'd be mad at if you said it, top 5 dessert, if you said like popsicle, I would have raised an eyebrow.
Popsicle.
But that's all.
Here's what I'll say. I think popsicle would be a wrong answer, and you would rightfully give me shit for it. One of the things we kept in the fridge was like those lemon popsicles, dude, and those were fire, man. I don't care.
Lemon popsicles.
Yes.
In the fridge?
Yes.
What do you mean in the fridge?
In the freezer, you know what I mean. Come on.
Okay.
It's still a refrigerator, even if it has a freezer. But what was... I can't remember the brand name. It starts with an O. If you know what I'm talking about, those are great. Those are a good mix-up.
Theo was like, yeah, someone said popsicles, and Matt was like, wait a second.
I don't think I've ever had a lemon-flavored popsicle. Usually I would just get the ones that come in like grape and orange and...
A lemon
like little tube ones?
Yeah, the real thing. A lemon popsicle?
The tube ones, like those, like...
Yeah.
I mean... Those really suck.
Or
No.
you could get a popsicle mold and just put lemonade in it.
Mm-hmm.
That's just as good. But those are our top 5 desserts. Those are the Stay Hot locks. That's our week 1 NFL preview. We've got football Thursday night, Friday night, Sunday, all day Sunday, really, and Monday night. It's finally here, boys. I'm excited. I hope you're excited. And until next time, thank you all so much for tuning in. And we will catch you on the Flippity Flop.